The Pakistani Prime Minister, Imran Khan, has reacted angrily to the decision by the Indian government to revoke special status for Kashmir. He has threatened to report India to the United Nations Security Council, and he says Pakistan will fight this move at every forum. India says that the decision to remove special status is needed to ensure security. Indian-administered Kashmir, meanwhile, remains in lockdown. Here's our diplomatic correspondent, Paul Adams.
A state in lockdown, all but cut off from the outside world. India has flooded Jammu and Kashmir with tens of thousands of extra troops and police. Phone lines and the internet have been blocked since Sunday. The result, an atmosphere of uncertainty and apprehension. But some are happy. Among the state's non-Muslim minority, expressions of support for the government's bold move.
This is an historic decision by the Modi government. A very big thing has been done by the government. A priceless gift has been given to the country, which one wouldn't have thought possible in a lifetime.
Across this vast country, there's little doubt something decisive has happened. The Indian government breaking with more than 70 years of history.
More news from Kashmir. The once peaceful mountain state.
The former princely state joined Hindu-majority India in 1947, but only after India gave it special status. Muslim-majority Pakistan clings to a rival claim. The two countries have gone to war over Jammu and Kashmir 4 times. Since 1972, the area has been split in two along the so-called line of control, but the conflict has never gone away. Yesterday's announcement stripping Jammu and Kashmir of its special status caused uproar in the Indian parliament. The government of Narendra Modi says it's necessary for security and the state's economic development. Critics point to a different motivation.
The idea that Kashmir requires or even deserves any special status constitutionally is beyond the pale for him, because his perspective is very much this sort of centralizing force of Indian politics that is the sort of Hindu nationalist mobilization behind his election and his recent re-election.
In Pakistan, outrage and a sense of crisis. Kashmir is an incendiary issue. Successive governments have sponsored violent groups there. As Parliament meets to discuss the issue, the country's military has warned of retaliation.
Kashmir is now officially invaded by India. It is an illegal step. It is unconstitutional.
Pakistan seems poised to take the dispute to the UN Security Council. India says Jammu and Kashmir is a domestic issue, and all the while from the streets at the heart of this crisis, an uneasy silence. Paul Adams, BBC News.
Let's go to Islamabad now. We can speak to our correspondent, Asif Faruqi. Asif, tell us more about what the Prime Minister's been saying.
Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan just addressed the joint session of the parliament, which was convened to discuss situation in Kashmir, and he basically built on the narrative that Pakistan government is saying since yesterday, that whatever India has done will lead to regional instability and will be detrimental to the peace in the region. He very clearly said that India will obviously try to suppress voices in Kashmir, which will lead to further violence and attacks against Indian state, and that India could blame on Pakistan, that it has already been doing. And at that point, Imran Khan was very clear in saying that if that happens and if India takes action against Pakistan this time around, it can lead to a conventional war between the two countries. He didn't stop there, but he also added that this time around, a conventional war will not stay conventional, but it can lead to a nuclear conflict. So basically, he said he was not nuclear blackmailing the international community, but was stating the facts that the situation in the region is very, very critical and international community should take notice of it.
It is a very dramatic statement. What exactly does he want the UN to do?
Pakistan has been saying since yesterday that UN should come in and intervene and try to reverse what India has done. Pakistan and India have been to UN for the last many decades. There have been dozens of resolutions passed by the UN, but none of those have been very successful in dealing with this issue. Imran Khan wants the government of Pakistan to go back to United Nations and take this issue and actually lodge a complaint against India that it has violated one more resolution of the United Nations which speaks for the right of self-determination for the Kashmiri people.
We're hearing very little from Indian-administered Kashmir. There is a security crackdown there and very little coming out. What about the Pakistani line? What about the other side of Kashmir?
There have been protests since yesterday. As soon as the news was flashed on Pakistani television channels, there were protests in Pakistani side of Kashmir. The angry protesters were demanding that India should reverse this decision, and what they see it as an Indian conspiracy to change the demography of the state of Kashmir. As you know, that state is divided between India and Pakistan, largely Muslim state. By allowing the non-Muslims or non-Kashmiris to buy land and property in India and to get jobs in Kashmir, Pakistani protesters think that it's a conspiracy against the state of Kashmir and people of Kashmir, and they are being stripped of their own identity and not just by their conventional rights.
Asif Faruqi, thank you for bringing us right up to date from Islamabad.